I think we are at the beginning of something special in the relationship, and that's quite clear from what we hear today. We are also at the beginning of something special because Denise and Paul have decided that we have to work together, ORF and Hoover, and I hope this is just the first of many projects that we do. In fact, we make this an annual affair where we come out with something thought-provoking, take it to the larger publics in both countries, and give it legs and and let imaginations work on some of the ideas that we produce. I'm not going to try and capture the very rich conversation we've had, but 3 thoughts for all of us as we close. First, I think Siddharth got it right, and it was echoed in different ways by each one on the stage today when he mentioned that we'll have to change the way we think about defense IP and technology transfers. I think the larger point is the India-U.S. partnership will require a different departure, a different framework that does not exist. The U.S. has never been in a close relationship, intimate relationship with any country that is bigger than it in population and is going to rival it in economic size. It has dealt with young cousins. It is now dealing with a full-grown twin or a brother at some point of time. It is a very different relationship. 2 large countries, both of which will eventually see themselves as exceptional actors in the international arena, will have to come to new terms of engagement, and that is already playing out. In fact, I would say that forget this values and interest bogey. This is a bogey for people to reduce the relationship. I think what worked for us is that we have already sorted this out. We have enriched each other's values. We've made you more human to the South, which you weren't. Let's be honest here. You made us more cognizant of civil society and its role, and we are doing that. Your civil society has greater media space. Our civil society changes legislation that have been passed by Parliament and approved by the courts, and we can still do that. We can still take it back. So we are both enriching each other's democratic processes. We are not going to be the same. Let's celebrate the difference, but let's understand the framework of our partnership is different. It doesn't exist. We are writing it as we on the go, and I think institutional partnerships like Hoover, like ORF, and like many others are important. Don't go into the reductionist mindset of describing us through vocabulary used when the Soviet Union and America were sorting out their relationship. I think so. Not only do we need to think new, we also need to. Someone mentioned retired ambassadors, or was it you, Dhruva? That was not fair. But we also need new blood to start thinking about this relationship. I don't think they need to retire. They need to keep reminding us of how far we have traveled. But certainly we need new thinking. That's the first point. That the relationship is different. Don't measure it and don't circumscribe it through frameworks that are irrelevant for this 21st century partnership. This is not a 20th century relationship. That's the first point. The second, I think, extremely important. And I'm going to a different Jaishankar, slightly more eminent Jaishankar. And he mentioned something which is absolutely important. Again, echoed by each one of them in different ways today. That India has to be ready for the world, and the world has to be ready for India. And this is absolutely important. In 2009, Pittsburgh, right? We all remember Pittsburgh. We were saving the banks, remember? 2009 Pittsburgh, 14 years ago, China was roughly the same GDP as India today. Same GDP. Thereafter, they've not had any significant years of great growth other than one, I think, when they had a double-digit growth. They've had a few years which are terrible low single digits, 2, 3, 4%. They've had to do not too much to move from $3.5 or $4 trillion to $18 trillion. That is the India story as well. We really have to do simple things right. Food, water, electricity, roads, infrastructure, homes, and we are there at $10,000 per capita income and 1.5 billion people. We are there at $15 trillion. So we are not looking at any great economic and political gymnastics to get to a very large economic size. But the texture of that growth will be very different and will have to be explained to the world. So this is, I think, the second big takeaway. How do we explain this transformational India to the world? Because although you will see it as this $15 trillion economy, it's only a $10,000 per capita income country. So you cannot impose the standards of delivery on $10,000 per capita. People, even though you imagine it in terms of the size of the whole GDP, which is going to be monumental, second or third largest GDP in the coming years. And I think that has to be explained to people. It has to be explained to mid-America. It has to be explained to mid-India. Those relationships have to develop. I think DC and Delhi have done what they could. They have tried to jeopardize the relationship long enough. Now we need to give it to different centers so that they can actually fully exploit it and grow it. So I think we need to really explain each other's transitions and transformations more intimately. And the final point, I think Siddharth was, of course, he has 20 service rules that prevent him from saying what he has to say. But I think there is something significant that we are missing here. It's not about the jet engines or the engine deals or the fighter aircraft that will eventually run on these engines. I think you have to understand, India has signed on to, by signing on to this partnership around that particular equipment, which may not be the best engines you have, let's be honest here. But by signing on to that, India has made a strategic directional commitment that the future of aviation and Air Force and aircrafts that will be important for India's strategic role and defense in the future would have an American tilt. Now, when you buy an equipment as essential as that, you're not only investing into the engine, but you're actually buying a posture, a thinking, arrangement of your armed forces, of your training capabilities, of your supply chains, of your entire literally industry. And in some sense, that is what has happened this summer. And we are not getting it. It is as significant as India investing into the MiG series in the last century. And then for the next 40, 50 years, continuing with aircrafts that continued to, in some sense, flounder as decades went by. Good aircrafts in the beginning, India invested in it, and they decayed, right? So I think this is as important as that. This could be that 21st century moment when we are investing into our defense future in American tech and American partnership. It is as important as that. This is not about an engine deal. This is about a nation deciding, dropping its hesitancy and embracing a future where we will see greater American participation in our critical technologies. I think this is important. So this report is a teaser. Do read it. And we hope we produce much more. So let me thank Denise and Paul and everyone else. Denise is right here, so you should catch her. She's right here, the driving force behind the partnership. So we should convene soon again. And great to have you here. Thanks so much.